everyone, and welcome to our IT Tech Talk series. Our IT edition today is focused on Splunk fundamentals with web server data. In this part 2, we're focusing on working with your website data as part of a holistic end-to-end approach to website monitoring. During the series, we'll talk through different ways to help you make the most of your Splunk instance through short webinars that focus on apps and add-ons, features, best practices, and more. My name is Caitlin Reynolds, and I'm a Product Marketing Manager here at Splunk, and my co-host today is Josh Hoagie, a Solutions Engineer here at Splunk. Once again, he's going to walk you through today's talk and also do a demo at the end. Take it away, Josh.
Thanks, Caitlin. Okay, here's our agenda for today. First, we'll touch on the basics of dashboarding and visualizations, as well as the basics of alerting. And I'll work through both of these in the demo later on. Next, we'll discuss website monitoring, why it's so important, what makes it so challenging, and how Splunk can help. Finally, I'll demo some visualization and alerting basics in Splunk before we wrap up. Splunk visualizations and dashboards help you to organize and communicate your data insights. They help you and your users monitor or learn about important metrics and trends. You can use the dashboard editor or the simple XML editor in the Splunk web interface to build your dashboards and then add interactive behavior. Okay, so here's the basic dashboarding workflow. Visualizations, like almost everything else in Splunk, start with a search, which generates metrics of value to a stakeholder or business use case. We begin by deciding what visualization best conveys that data. Some options include column, bar, area, and line charts, my favorite, pie charts, bubble charts, single value visualizations and gauges, tables, maps, you get the picture. For example, if you're comparing sales totals for different product types over a time period, you might use a bar or column chart. And if you want to show trends in product sales over a time period, you might use a line chart. You're also not limited to what comes out of the box. Splunk allows you to develop custom visualizations. You can add your visualizations to a dashboard and then extend the functionality of that dashboard using buttons and form inputs. You might want a glass table or an executive dashboard that conveys business critical info at a glance. Splunk enables you to tailor your visualizations for specific audiences and levels of detail. You can use alerts to monitor for and respond to specific events. Alerts use a saved search to look for events in real time or on a schedule. They trigger when the search results meet specific conditions or criteria. And you can also use alert actions to respond when those alerts trigger. All right, here's the basic alerting workflow. First, start with the search for the events that you want to track, and then save that search as an alert. Next, decide how often you want to check for events. The alert will use the saved search to check for your events, and you can configure how often the search runs. Maybe you want to schedule an alert to check for events on a regular basis, or you might want a real-time alert that monitors for events contiguously. Next, set the trigger conditions and throttling. How often do you want to trigger an alert? So your alert doesn't have to trigger every time it generates search results. Phew. Set and adjust your trigger conditions to manage when the alert triggers, and then throttle the alert to control how soon the next alert can trigger after the initial one. If you work in a SOC or NOC, you know that alert fatigue is for real. Splunk is here to help. Finally, set an alert action. When an alert triggers, it can initialize one or more actions. Maybe it notifies you with an email or an SMS so you can start responding to it. Maybe it kicks off a phantom playbook that takes action on your behalf. We want you to turn your data into doing. So why is monitoring a website so important? Well, in so many cases, the website is the business, and slow is the new down. The challenge here is that websites bring together a multitude of systems, processes, and data to deliver key services. Many websites are transactional and have to be integrated with payment systems and other systems of record. A mission-critical website must also be designed, built, and run to the highest standards. Those websites need to have near 100% availability and be free from performance issues or security issues. Finally, the customer experience is critical. All right, so here is the classic website infrastructure. Notice the long list of not only devices, but software that are important to making it work. They're on the left. And then notice that deployments move from on-prem, the traditional way, through hybrid and into the cloud with a content delivery network like CloudFront and Akamai. Splunk can help with all of this. Okay, so here's a framework to think about your website operations. Each of these 5 pillars is critical, and each presents its own operational challenges. Splunk breaks down the silos between your technical data and your business data. It also becomes the single point of reconciliation for outages. No more war rooms, and no more mean time to innocence. Okay, from left to right, operate. Your website is a business-critical IT service. Bring predictive analytics and machine learning to your website operations with Splunk IT Service Intelligence. Next, secure. Protecting the infrastructure and the applications that support your website from cyber threats is critical to protecting your brand reputation, securing your customers' data, and ensuring compliance. The Splunk Security Operations Suite brings industry-leading capabilities to your SOC. Next, detect. Splunk helps you detect suspicious and fraudulent activity, like account takeovers, transaction and application fraud, money laundering, and even terror financing. Next, optimize. Know at a glance critical info, such as number of sessions and users, your bounce rate, and your error rate. Finally, develop. Splunk brings DevOps and continuous integration, continuous deployment to your website operation. It helps you gain end-to-end visibility across the tool chain for build, test, and compliance, and helps improve your customer experience. Okay, demo time. We're going to switch over to my screen, and I'm going to show you some basic dashboarding and visualization as well as alerting with web data.
Okay, here we are at the search bar. Let's take a look at our data. First, sources. All right, we notice that we have Apache logs, and it looks like they're coming in as access combined. So let's take a look. Looks like we have about 5,400 events, and let's take a look through the significant fields. 3 web servers, so we're load balanced. I see some internal IP addresses, so maybe it's hitting an a database somewhere. Lots of customer information, JSession ID cookies. Ooh, canned unicorn meat. I'm fascinated. All right, let's see. Well, we also have some status descriptions, so somebody's done a few lookups for us, and same thing with status types. All right, and let's look at the URI path. Okay, running PHP. All right, well, let's see if we can use Pivot to make a dashboard panel. Pivot is nice because you don't have to type any kind of SPL in order to make it work. So let's split these by URI path here on the rows. Let's add that. And we'll split the columns by that status type event. Let's add this, and we have some statistics that can be rendered as a bar chart. Great. Okay, let's add this to a dashboard panel. And we will create a new dashboard. We'll call it Buttercup Enterprises e-commerce site. Great. And let's see, we'll call the panel URI path by status type. Great. And then we need to save a data model for this, so we'll call it BCAC. Great. Let's view this dashboard. So we just made a dashboard panel without using any search bar, using the pivot tool. Let's edit this, and first things first, I like time pickers because they're really useful. 60 minutes seems about right. A little inside baseball here. We're using an event gen, so we don't have a ton of data. And we'll make the default 60 minutes. We'll also make this panel use the time picker, and you know I like pie, so let's make it a pie graph. Ooh, not useful. but we can make it useful using a trellis layout. This splits it out by the URI path. Now we get a good idea of what status codes are happening depending on what URL is being hit in our site. Great. Okay. Now let's head back to the search bar, and we are going to make some dashboard panels the good old-fashioned way using search. So let's pull up our source type of access combined, hit search. Alright, here's our 5,400-ish events. Notice they're tailing off a little bit, that's okay. I am going to group them using the transaction command, and I will use JSessionID, which is our cookies, and the ends with tag of purchase. So these are purchases made on the website. Why do I want to do this? Well, I want to know how many purchases were made in the last 60 minutes. Just because this is event gen data and may not act exactly like a live human being, I'm going to dedupe them and then pull some stats. So how many do we have? Count. Straight ahead. Okay, well, you see that we have a count of 355 sales. And let's make this a single unit or a single value. Great, and add it as a new panel to our existing dashboard. Fantastic. Let's not view the dashboard quite yet. Let's get a sum of the price field to see how much money we made. Holy cow, if that's dollars, we are raking it in. So let's add this to our dashboard panel. And let's go take a look at the dashboard. Okay, edits as always. Dashboards are living, breathing things. So first things first, let's use the time picker for this. And we need to give it a title too. So over here, let's see, what was that? That was our total number of sales, right? Number of sales. Great. And next, this was our sales revenue, right? Yep, okay. We'll use the time picker for this one too. A couple more things. Let's make them side by side and then see if we can make this even more compact. We're going to crowd this other one out for a little bit. Good. Let's see if we can drag this underneath those two. All right, excellent. Now let's add an annotation so that's not like a large number that has no context. This is US dollars. Great. There we are underneath it. Okay, saving. And let's go back to search and reporting. Let's add one more panel. Okay, so back to our tried and true search type. No reason to retype it. Let's just throw it back in search using our history. Search. Now we've pulled up our events for the past 60 minutes. And I am going to bin these events by time in a span of 1 minute, just in case. So if there are multiple events, they get put into the same bin. And let's do a count. And the reason here is I'm going to try to show that what our errors are doing to us in terms of revenue. So let's pull in time, status, status description, the action, that was purchase, add to cart, etc., the product, and the price. Really not necessary now other than price and action, but let's see what we got. Okay, we got good data out of that. Now let's look further back. So this is going to look on the left side of that pipe that I just set up for a status of greater than 400. So these are our errors. Things that are less than 400 are okay. So here are our errors, and we notice that we have 832 different items. Now let's make a time chart. So over the past 60 minutes, let's get a sum of price. This is how much those errors were costing us by each error. That's the action. So errors for purchases, add to cart, remove from cart. And let's format it here. Use the multi-series mode, and we get a good idea, right? I'm still not sure what I'm going to call this, but let's see. Revenue. It's not exactly right, is it? Revenue actions. Well, it's by action. Oh, hang on. Let's put this in on the right dashboard panel, and we'll call it revenue by action, let's call it revenue implications by action. There we go. Save it, view the dashboard, and as always, all right, so it looks great there, but you know what, we need to add the time picker up at the top to our panel here, so it drives this panel. So let's add the time picker. Great. Apply. Save. And let's try out our time picker. So over the past 15 minutes, 78 sales and 2.3K. Man, we're doing awesome. All right, wrapping up here. So let's go back to our search history, and I'd like to create, I noticed something, so I would like to create a, I noticed that somebody had made some event types, and one of those event types is SQL injection. So notice that I don't like SQL injections, and I bet you our database admins don't either, and I bet they're not looking at Splunk. So I'm going to make an alert, and I'm going to call it SQL injection attempt alert, and I will make it real time. So this alert is going to not only raise an alert here in Splunk, but it's going to, we're going to make it send an email to our DB admins. So set some, you could throttle it here, but not necessary. And then let's send an email to db_admins at buttercupenterprises.com. And let's add an inline with that. Okay, so this alert, when it fires, will pop up in our fired alerts. And here we are. Thanks. Demo complete.
Great. Thank you so much, Josh, for walking us through that demo and presentation. So we're almost at the end of the presentation, so I wanted to share a quick recap slide with some of the resources shared during today's talk. These, as well as the recording of the webinar, will also be available in a follow-up email, so be on the lookout for that in your inbox shortly. If you enjoyed this talk but you're eager to learn more, check out our incredible community of Splunk users on our community site, where you'll find all of these resources listed above and more. And they'll also be available in the follow-up email I just mentioned. Great, well, we're all wrapped up for today. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedules to join us. And thank you, Josh, for your presentation and demo. We hope you enjoyed the talk today and look forward to seeing you at a future IT Tech Talk coming soon.